just wanted to ask about, I guess, digital-only or digital-first publishing, and I guess, Scott, that's what you're obviously doing and must be a financial model for it, but also interested in whether the legacy publishers think that it's a model that might work as part of your business mix as well.
Oh, well, it varies. It can be absolutely perfectly fantastic, or it can be absolutely dismal.
Same as usual then.
It's just absolutely... and, you know, essentially it's promotion sells, and, you know, good content. And that's what social media does. You're trying to build a buzz, just like you would build a buzz in a room about talking about a book. Well, you're just trying to do that in the virtual world. You're trying to build a buzz about a certain book to generate readership. I have ebooks that sell fantastically well, but I also have 3 books on my list that didn't sell 1 copy last year, even though one was at Christmas and it's about Christmas.
We have done some digital-only publishing, despite the 500-year-old tag. The one that immediately springs to mind is Hot Maths, which is an online resource for teachers and learners. It looks less like a book than perhaps what we've been talking about most of today, but more than 80,000 users currently on there. Yes, it's successful. Yes, these things can work, but just like print publishing, it can also go horribly wrong. So yes, I think there is a place for it. I think in Australia, there is already a growing market for Australian scholarly monographs, if you like, that are being published by Australian universities, who a lot of them have e-presses, which are only publishing ebooks. And I think it's a wonderful way to get that Australian scholarly work out into a market. And I hope that global platforms pick up this scholarly work and push Australian scholarship out to the rest of the world.
I think it's actually also one of those things that ties in so beautifully with social media, because it's the kind of thing, if you build a community around it before you put something out there, then they're ready for it. Just putting it out there into the ether, you just don't know. You need to build the community first, I would say anyway.
Caroline, I was really glad to hear that you're on the ground seeing some entrepreneurial publishing, but you didn't give us a case study of best practice in that area.
I can give you an interesting case study. In fact, a lot of the publishers I work with first attracted my interest because they started. We've been talking a lot about the idea of the legacy publisher versus digital only, and I guess probably because I have an academic inclination, I like to kind of move away from those from keeping those distinctions, and I'm really interested in those places where the two things are mixed together. And so a lot of the publishers that I work with, who I should stress, many of which are Melbourne-based. So Melbourne has we're in a strong position in terms of nurturing young publishing talent across any platforms. And a lot of those publishers are doing very interesting things across both media. And so they might start in one area and move to the other. So most of the time you see people moving from legacy printed publishing into digital publishing. And one of the things that I've found very encouraging about observing that move has been that people still maintain a very strong, well, in the first instance, back to social media and social networks, people maintain a strong sense of connection to their readership. One of the things that's really important, I think probably distinguishes small publishing from larger publishing operations, is that a lot of people who are small publishers are also writers themselves or editors, or they have been, and very often the people that are who are publishing this work are kind of avid consumers of other people's output. So there's less of a sense of competition there within that market. And that's it's very refreshing. And that's a luxury you can have, I think, when your ambitions are really to get content out there and to get feedback. if you're not driven by the bottom line to the same degree, you can afford to do that. So I should say that, you mentioned best practice, and I think that there's a kind of, I think there's probably quite a utopian tradition within small publishing communities, which is no bad thing, but there's a lot more opportunity for people to be generous and entrepreneurial in a very positive way. When one person succeeds, very often what they're doing is lending a hand up to other people, whether that's writers or editors, or it might be their friends who are involved in, digital technologies, things like that. So you see a much more natural evolution of that process. And that's the one thing that I've observed with my research, is that people will start with a small journal or a magazine and realise the opportunities that might be made available to them if they can distribute and publish online. And then when that happens, they tend to maintain those strong connections and ties with the friendship groups, the social groups, the professional networks, the universities that they've trained with. They tend to maintain all of those connections as they move into the next stage of their publication, whether that's online or offline.
Hi, I think I'm the person you just described. I've got a publishing company and it's been going for since August 2010, and from the get-go I was doing both paperback and ebook. I've so far published 9 paperbacks and 16 ebooks, so I'm doing a bit of both. Everything that I produce as a paperback, the ebook comes out about no more than a month later. But I've also taken up the backlists of some authors who were previously published and their books are out of print, and I couldn't afford necessarily to publish them as paperbacks, but was more than happy to take them online as ebooks. But my question is actually for Scott, is how does someone like me, for instance, then get to sell the ebooks at least to the rest of the world? I mean, to get my paperbacks out there, I would have to do what every other publisher does and hop on a plane to Frankfurt and try and sell rights and things like that. But with ebooks, we can sell to the world without sort of leaving the country. But that's a question: how do we do that?
Well, that's the realms of someone like myself, who's a distributor, or half my business is distribution, where since 2006, where I was literally knocking on doors of, virtual doors, virtually knocking on retailers, getting knocked back by lots, but being accepted by heaps, by Kobo and Amazon and Waterstones and WH Smiths and eventually building up a portfolio of retailers. Now, I'll say that I built all that, and then I discovered that I could also piggyback on a couple of third-party distributors in the US, which significantly cut down my upload rate, because for every retailer I had to upload the book, and then the next one I had to upload a book, and then the next one I had to upload. So it's really, I probably do 10% of the work that I used to do 5-6 years ago, for instance. But that's how I do it. You do have to spend some time uploading books. Now, for me, for my platform has been created, I probably, for one book, have to upload it into about 6 or 7 different systems for it to be a worldwide distribution to these 90, 100 retailers and libraries. So that's how I do it personally.
Hi, this is for the legacy publishers. I'm just interested in how you would decide what authors or what books you're actually going to do in a digital format, whether or not it's across the board, every new author you sign up, it's in the contract.
Well, I'll just give a quick answer for the schools business, and it's just about demand and about the size of the market. Excuse me. So if we were doing a maths textbook for the whole of Australia, yeah, we'd have to have a digital book in multiple formats. But if we're doing something for a very niche market, where actually publishing for that market is a big risk to start with, then we have to evaluate it based on what the author can deliver his or herself, and whether it's worth taking a big risk for that particular market. So yeah, it's horses for courses. It's about the size of the market, the capability of the author, and whether we think. I mean, it's funny, but teachers of different subjects are moving into a digital teaching method, if you like, or a digital teaching world at different paces, depending on the subject that they teach. On the other side of things, on the scholarly publishing side of things, these days, absolutely everything. And we're now going deep into the backlist and converting legacy publishing into digital formats, which we're probably up to something like 20,000 titles now.
Do you think that the digital publishing will sort of replace libraries?
As far as libraries are concerned, I know personally, even though I publish and distribute ebooks, I love printed paper books just as much. In fact, probably even a little bit more, but don't tell anybody. I can't see the end of the libraries. I can't see the end of the paperless office, which was predicted 20 years ago. People love tactile things. They love the smell. They love, and you said libraries are more than just housing books. They're a magnet for community. So I can't see them going. That's my personal opinion.
I'd echo that. The answer to your question has to be, God, I hope not. Libraries, I think there will be just more kinds of libraries. There will be online libraries. There will be libraries with, like university libraries, where you can digital access wherever you are, whether you're in the library or whether you're at home or in a coffee shop. There is a legacy issue of how content is kept for future generations, and that should be in multiple formats, not all eggs in one basket, but also the social aspect, which is incredibly important.
I think it's important to remember too that one of the most popular functions for any public library is the computer usage and access. I mean, every public library I've ever walked into, there have been queues out the door in order to use the internet, play computer games. So, and I think I see that as a very positive thing, because I associate the idea of libraries, yes, with community, but secondly also with literacy. And I think, one of the great things about that, there's a lot of anxiety at present about what will happen. But one of the great things about this present moment is that our sense of what literacy means has really been exploded. That's opened up. And I think it's a positive thing, and I associate libraries with that development of the idea of literacy and a multiplicity of literacies across a range of platforms.
And anyone who's seen RoboCop knows that in the future we all have bionic eyeballs, so it really shouldn't be a problem. On that note, could you please join me in thanking Scott, Mark, Michelle and Caroline?